So welcome to Becoming More, the podcast where we learn from other people. Through their successes and their failures, we learn how to become more. And today we have a great friend with us. I'm telling you, Jeremy, I am so excited for you to be here. Jeremy Herrman has been in the real estate industry for 20 years. He sold for 17 of those years, and he's been with Keller Williams, I should say. And the interesting part is he says his wife actually sells real estate better than he does. He's been a MAPS coach for 6.5 years, and he is the CEO and co-founder of ClarityNOW. Now, here's the interesting part about Jeremy. He's got twins at 4 years of age and another boy that is 5.5 years of age. Now, I got to tell you, that year and a half apart, Jeremy, having those 3 kids, I don't know if you just got away and sold a lot of real estate and stayed away from the house, or if it just keeps you and your wife very busy, I'm sure, right?
It's chaotic, and thank you for having me. Yeah, I mean, with 3 little boys, they're 20 months apart, so we had 3 kids under 2 years old, with no family in town. We live in Rochester, New York, so we're alone. And my wife has her real estate business, and I am, I'm an entrepreneur and do a lot of different things. So we do a good job of balancing it all, but it is certainly not without its challenges.
I can well imagine. Well, you say your number one sport is business itself. And that's interesting because even though you play basketball and golf and love playing with the kids, you still love business. And I love that business is a sport. So tell us more about that. The real estate business or just business in general?
No, business in general. I love it. I love, the thing I love about being an entrepreneur is there's no ceiling, right? And whatever you choose to do is okay. You can have a small, profitable business that provides for your family, or you can build something massive that has a lot of value that you can sell and create generational wealth, and anything in between is okay. And it's got its challenges. I mean, the sport of business, there's just so many aspects to it. And of course, the hardest aspect of business, if you grow something beyond one person, is other people. And that is the hardest part and also the most rewarding part. So I love it. And I'm good at it. I love numbers. I love forecasting, and I think I'm kind of dorky in that way, but not everybody does like numbers. So I certainly provide value with with numbers in my brain. So I just really enjoy it. I've always loved it.
That's great. I loved what the E-Myth Michael Gerber said about entrepreneurs. He said most people are just managers and they don't like their boss, so they go out and they start a business. And they're just having an entrepreneurial seizure. They are no more an entrepreneur than fly to the moon. And yet here you started multiple businesses. And so why do you think that so many agents actually struggle in the real estate industry today when it's truly a great business?
It's a great question. I think that a large part of what separates great entrepreneurs from average entrepreneurs is the ability to prioritize and focus, and then managing a calendar around that. And I think real estate is one industry where we're constantly looking for things to distract us from doing the one thing, which is to finding more clients, right? So I think agents struggle because they're constantly but they allow themselves to get pulled away from what matters most, which ultimately, hurts them and their family. So it's those that are focused on setting an appointment or 2 every single day, they typically do great. And yet the ones that are struggling, usually you can see the lead gen as being the number one reason why they're not doing as well as they should. So to me, it comes down to focusing and prioritization.
Well, and they just don't prioritize. They don't know their numbers real well either, which is one of the things that you've helped agents with ClarityNOW. So just tell me, what inspired you to start ClarityNOW?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. It's so again, I've always been a numbers person, and I'm a self-taught spreadsheet geek. And when I first became a coach, I was hopeful to have a bunch of tools provided to help with that, to help with the numbers piece of it. And the reality is that every agent does their own thing, and most agents don't know numbers like we talked about. So I ended up building a big old spreadsheet that does everything from business planning to goal tracking to profit and loss and reports and everything in between. And we've all seen, great real estate spreadsheets. There's a ton out there. Where I got lucky, and truly lucky, is my wife, her best friend is married to my co-founder. His name is JB. And the four of us were hanging out one night, and JB was already an engineer working for a company, building platforms as an employee. And I showed him my spreadsheet one night, and he kind of nonchalantly told me that he could build that into software. And I called him a couple days later. I know, seriously. I called him a couple days later, and I said, hey, were you serious, or did you just have one too many? And he told me he was serious. And we spent, literally, Dianna, we spent 2 years on nights and weekends after we both put our kids to bed, hopping on Zoom, turning my spreadsheet into a viable product. And in 2 years, we didn't stop. In 2 years, the only thing I ever gave JB in compensation was a treadmill. He likes to run, and the winters here make it difficult. So I bought him a treadmill as a thank you. And I had someone who spent 2 years of grit without really any compensation to turn it into a product. And then once he had a product, now it's my turn, right, to go create some revenue. So honestly, I never intended to build a tech company. I don't have a tech background. I truly got fortunate in having a great co-founder that had the skill set and the grit to create a product. And then now it's on me to build it.
Yeah, you have to be a great person because we attract who we are. We don't attract what we want, right? So you attracted this great person to you, which means you're great. Now, how does ClarityNOW help the agents, the coaches, the leaders of real estate?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I personally believe that most agents' business plans are based on the wrong thing. And what I mean by that is if you ask 100 agents, what's your goal for the year? They're largely going to say units, volume, or GCI, right? And they create their goal on, I want to do 100 units. And if you say, great, so if you do 100 units this year, did you win? They'll go, yeah. Say, awesome. So if you do 100 units and you only netted 80 grand, did you win? And they go, well, no. And that's because the units don't matter. I always believe a business plan should be based on net profit first, and letting the units and the volume and the GCI be a byproduct of the income that you actually desire. So we're the only business planning tool in the industry that does that, where we have a business plan that starts with net profit. We have a real estate-based P&L, which is really powerful because most agents struggle with having a profit and loss. And everyone knows they should.
Stop there for a minute.
Sure.
Many agents don't know how to read a profit and loss. And that's up to us as the leaders to teach them how to read that. So keep going. I just wanted to make certain that you do help them actually know how to read the profit and loss if they get involved with you, right?
Oh, absolutely. And part of reading it is having a P&L that makes any kind of sense visually, right? So if you say, if I show you a list of all of your transactions for the year and say, talk to me about your P&L, well, they're going to have a hard time interpreting all that data. But if you lay out a P&L that clearly shows listing income, buyer income, total income, the breakdown of the cost of sales and the percentage of GCI for each category and the expense categories and the percentage of revenue that they all attributed to, the visual component makes reading it so much easier. So a lot of the education just comes in having a digestible format that people can comprehend.
So why do you think agents struggle with numbers?
I think agents make a bigger deal of numbers than they really are. Meaning they're afraid of them, right? They're afraid of them for a few things. And I'd love your feedback on this too because of your experience. But one, I think that people are afraid to know what the numbers are. And they're afraid to look in the mirror of what the numbers are. I think that's a big one, the psychology part of it. Two, have you ever heard someone, this is going to be maybe slightly controversial, I hope not, but have you ever heard someone say, I'm just big boned as an excuse for being 50 pounds overweight? Right?
Well, and some people are big boned, and yet, yes,
I know, I get that, and I don't
yeah.
mean to be controversial, and yet you understand what I'm saying. Some people they make an excuse by their poor health as to why they look the way they do. I think the same thing is true with numbers. People say I'm just not good with numbers, and now they label themselves as being okay with not being good with numbers. And the truth is that numbers tell a story of your business. And the people in your life are directly impacted by the success or the failures of your business. And saying, I'm not okay with numbers and having that be acceptable is only hurting you and your family. So I think one, people kind of label themselves as not being good with numbers, and it's a really negative thing to tell yourself. And two, I think that they make it seem like a bigger deal than it is, and they oftentimes don't want to look at the reality of the numbers.
I think they're fearful.
Yep.
I think they're afraid a lot of times because when they do numbers and they say, I want to sell 100 homes this year, and then they look at the number and they look at what they could make, their financial thermostat, it hasn't been set there. And so that number actually frightens them. I think the other part you're absolutely correct on is the fact that they have been told over their life, and mainly by themselves, I'm not good with numbers. Yeah. And the more they say that, the more the belief system sets in. And the more they believe it, now they put invisible chains on themselves that are holding themselves back. And so you've taken off those invisible chains when I looked at ClarityNOW, and I actually looked at it very quickly. I was speaking somewhere where you were there as, telling people about ClarityNOW and actually having people sign up. And as a vendor, I ran past you and you said, hey, Dianna, do you have a minute? And I go, that's about all I've got. And you said, well, look at this. And you started explaining it. And I said, bottom line, just tell me what it's good for. Yep. And you told me P&L, it'll help the agents with their numbers. And I said, call me. We'll get together. I think you're onto something here, because I watched over and over again how many agents actually struggle with numbers. And now with ClarityNOW having those critical numbers, it's so easy. It's so easy to do a budget. It's so easy to see where you are in your business. And what are you finding out there with the agents that are actually using that? And this isn't a commercial, even though it kind of sounds like it. We're going to get in to the numbers that even if you don't want ClarityNOW, what numbers do you need to be tracking? So tell us, why is this so simple?
Yeah, again, it's a software solution. There's very few, there's actually, I would argue, there's zero software solutions for tracking in software, not in spreadsheets, that's affordable. So one is our biggest competitor, frankly, is getting agents out of spreadsheets. And most of spreadsheets are intimidating and they don't track all that it should. So now that there's finally again, I use the word digestible, we really spent a lot of time on making the platform simple and easy to read. And believe it or not, it's actually hard to make software simple. But now there's a software solution that is affordable that gives you the numbers. We just got done right before you doing a business planning webinar. We had over 300 people register for it with really not that much marketing. And 150 or so showed up for it, and we went through the economic model and the budget model and the lead gen model and some other aspects of the software. And the feedback is always great. The product is very strong because it's simple and it's built by a coach, right? I've been doing this for 19 years and I know how to coach. I know numbers. And finally, I think a product, it's clearly built with someone with industry experience.
I like the fact that it's about business. Yeah. I know doing budgets, when I was at MAPS, now we were talking about millions there, and the spreadsheets were overwhelming. I mean, I would lay all those things out and get everything all set for the entire year and then hold ourselves accountable to that budget and making that profit, right? Now, what do you find? I think great businesses make between 32 to 37% profit. What are you finding out there?
It's interesting. I think it really depends on the business. And what I mean by that is, if you build a business where you're out of production and you have great leverage and your time is minimal because you have great people and you're paying those people well and you have great agents that can take listings and you've created the type of lifestyle with that business that you desire and it's still spitting out an income that you desire, to me, the profit percentage isn't as important as your income and lifestyle goal within that business. Traditionally, I would agree with you. 32 to 37% is typically what we see for agents that are in production. And, I coach someone who's around 25%, and it's 25% largely by design because of the time invested in that business. So I think it's a little bit, it depends on the person. For most people listening to this, 32 to 37% spot on. The ones that have anything lower than that, it's because they just chose to build something bigger and they're okay with the sacrifice of either an increased cost of sale or increased expenses.
Or they're not making enough profit.
In some cases, they're making the profit they desire because they built it big enough.
Yeah, right.
But
I agree with
largely you're
that.
correct.
I agree with that. There are people, though, that are making a lot of money and spending a lot of money to make that money. And they don't have that great of a lifestyle. So, yes,
Yeah.
I just wanted to give a benchmark because we're talking business here.
Yep.
And businesses spit off that type of profit, great businesses. Even if you're away from those businesses, how do we look at those numbers? Because we have numbers we have to look at, whether they're with ClarityNOW or not.
Yeah.
They're just like when we go to the doctor, they have vitals that they have to take of us before they'll do anything. So what do you think are the vitals of any business, not just real estate?
Yeah, well, the number one vital should be your upcoming cash flow. The first vital really should be the money in the bank, right? The actual cash in the bank, the reserves that you have, especially in comparison to your expenses, right? Are you healthy from a expenditures per month to reserves? That's the first vital. The second vital would be cash flow, month over month cash flow. I coach a lot of people, both in real estate and out of real estate, where that's one of the main things we focus on is what does February look like? What does March look like as we're sitting here in early January? People who lose track of that and they realize, I can't believe January was so bad, and they realize that in February, that's a problem, right? So we need to be ahead of that and knowing that. Another one I would say is I'm a huge believer of having an annual goal broken down into quarters and having a quarter Q1 goal, Q2 goal, etc. And then just the constant awareness of what is the quarter one goal for that business? Where are you currently at towards that goal? How much time do you have left to accomplish the goal? And based on that, what do you have to do in the next 7 days to stay on track to hit the goal? That would be the other vital sign that I would say is important to always know.
Well, that's very important. I know at MAPS we started the 15th protocol, and then we started actually the first day protocol. If you're off the first day, what are you going to do the second day to make up for it? Yet a lot of people do wait until the quarter and go, oh, I didn't make goal, now I've got to catch up. And they're always playing catch up, which they never do.
Yeah.
It's like a seller chasing the market down with the price. The agent is chasing their goal with thinking that they're going to catch up. Now, you coach people, businesses and real estate, as you mentioned. What are you finding is the number one challenge that they're having right now in their business?
Great question. I would say, vision is always a part of it. Do you know what you're actually building towards, and are you purposeful with building towards that? I think a lot of people lack the vision, so they're just kind of existing each year without any real purpose or intentionality. I think that's oftentimes one. In addition to that, we keep coming back to it, but the bold laws, you created them, and one of them is, business is simple, it's not easy. Right? It's simple. It's not easy. It's going back to the knowing the numbers and the focusing on the prioritization and having that priority match your calendar. That's probably, if I think through this a little deeper, the calendar is probably number one, realistically, is their calendar doesn't match up to where their time truly needs to be spent. That's usually number one that I see. It's a great question though.
Well, it's like the bold law that I wrote. It's not about selling real estate. It's about following a schedule
100%.
and having the right things in that schedule to follow. So in your coaching, can you share a success story with us where ClarityNOW actually helped the client turn their business around and make more profit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that we talk about is a client I have in Erie, PA that I've coached for a while. He's a great guy. And in ClarityNOW, in part of the business planning, again, we're starting with net profit. And then we dive into how many units is the individual rainmaker going to do? What are they committed to? Which is unique because not most business plans don't go that deep. And then what it does is it tells you what the difference is between your production with no cost of sales to how many units are needed for team members to hit the actual goal. So this person,
that's good.
It's great because now he knows that sign me up for 70 houses, but that means the team needs to do 60. And then it's really clear, do I have the people that can do 60? And with this person, because of that awareness and staying focused on it, the first year with Clarity Now, with me coaching him, he was supposed to do 20 buyers and he did 40. Okay.
Oh,
He hit the
double.
list. He doubled, and I got really mad at him. And people would say, well, why? He doubled the goal. And I would say, well, hold on, how much did your team do? And of course, they were nowhere near what the team was supposed to produce, okay? And I said, why did you take on those extra buyers? And, you know, he kind of hemmed and hawed. I said, was it because of the commission split, the whatever you're going to pay your agents? And he goes, yes. I said, okay, so let's do math quick. And he is an Erie PA, right? So the sales price isn't awesome. And I said, so what would the 50% split be on each of those transactions times those 20 units? And it was like 140 grand for the 20 units. I'm making up the number, but it was something like that. I said, okay. And how many hours did you spend per buyer? And he goes, probably 10. So those 20 transactions was like 200 buyers. And Dianna, you know where I'm going with this. And I said, if you had recruited one person that was good, how many units do you think that they would sell for you in a year? And how many years do you think they should stay with you before they leave and have you be okay with it? Right? And they said they'd probably sell 30 houses a year and be with me for 4 years. And if you had 200 hours, how many people do you think you could have recruited? And then we did the math. So you spent 200 hours making 140 grand instead of spending 2 hours making $700,000 recruiting. Right? And you knew where I was going right away.
Well, it's about helping people think differently, isn't it?
Yes.
It's about helping them truly understand what their life could look like.
Yes.
And because in his mind, his thinking was such that, oh my word, I got this all figured out. And I did it so I could make more money. And yes, I did know where you were going with that. And it's quite fun to hear you explain it.
When I first met this coaching client, he's a workhorse, right? He even told me that he has fainted 2 times in his office over the years because he forgot to eat.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's not healthy, right? And
No.
in my expectation call with him, when we first became a coaching client, I asked him a question because he was actually wanting to cancel coaching right away because of the commitment of time. And I asked him a question. I said, if you were to ask your kids on a scale of 1 to 10 what their relationship is like with their dad, what would they say? And he started crying, and he goes, probably like a 2 or a 3. Today, now, you asked for a success story. Today, he does around 15 buyers, truly passes them off, and he goes and visits his kids in college, and they go to the gym together, and they do ball games. And that relationship ranking is way the hell higher than where it was when we started. So,
See, and to me, that's the benefit of
Yes.
this whole thing, being able to help people think differently and to have that success that they deserve. Let me just ask you, how is coaching and selling, being in business, starting your own business, another business, helped you be a better father, a better husband, a better friend to other people?
So I personally believe, and this is because of opening multiple businesses and running multiple businesses, that we have more time than we realize. And a lot of people, when I say time, not in our life, but in the day, right? Time of each work day. And, you know, you have the other bold laws, all work expands to fill time allowed, right?
Yes.
So I am crystal clear. Like, for example, the second that you and I are done, I am jumping in my car to go see my son finish basketball practice. And he's 5.5 years old. That's a priority to me, right? That relationship is a priority to me. So what that means I have to do is my work days have to be filled with things that matter most. I keep harping on prioritization and scheduling, and yet I think it's critical. So part of doing all this is when you put more on your plate, you realize how much more you can do, but it also helps you realize what your priorities in life are. And my family is hands down my number one priority. So everything that I do in business has to fit within the work schedule. Another example of this is, you know, I work out in the gym with a personal trainer 2 times a week, but I don't do that at 6 p.m. or at 5 a.m. I do that during the typical work day because that's when I know I can do it, but I have to fit the rest of my work in around it. So I think that prioritization helps me focus. And on coaching specifically, you know, the ability to ask great questions and more importantly to listen, I think has been a tremendous gift. I'm really, really excited as my kids get older to start teaching them. And we're already doing it. We're already teaching them, right? But when they start coming home, like with problems and challenges and being able to articulate that and to listen and coach and to help them, you know, through that stuff, I know without a shadow of a doubt that my last 6.5 years and developing that skill set of coaching will really shine through with these little boys. So I love that.
I do too, because coaching is such a great gift to have, actually, to understand how to truly coach, to
Yes.
get into someone's thinking process and help them change that. Now, with ClarityNOW, what I see you doing with the agents is taking something that they've been frightened about, they haven't wanted to do for whatever reason,
Yep.
and they don't even watch it, which means their business may or may not be successful. And you've taken something and made it so simple. How would they find out about that? I mean, don't you have demos going all the time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you go to our website, it's www.claritynowre, as in real estate.com. There's a lot of videos you can watch, but also you can schedule demos. And most of my day is filled with doing demos, me and my team. So people can go to our site, they can do a demo, take a look at it. Again, we really try, this is important too, is I think that we need to be affordable. I want to help as many agents as possible with the gift of knowing their numbers and becoming better business owners for their family. And I don't think that should be, thousands of dollars per year, which, some people try to charge. I think that we need to be affordable, and that's what we're committed to. Even if it takes longer for us, that's okay. I want to help more people. So if you are interested in wanting to know more about your real estate business or learn more about ClarityNOW, I certainly invite you to go to our site, watch our videos, schedule a demo, and see if we're a good solution for you.
Well, I think that's great, because I know that the numbers will help people. Let's go back to those vital numbers, though.
Yeah.
As far as their P&L, and maybe they want to look that and they look at the bottom line and go, hey, I made a profit, I'm great, right?
Yeah.
And as long as they're making a profit, they're happy. Well, that's okay, because they're happy. And that's their goal. Like you said earlier, if your goal is to make 25% and you're making 25%, then so be it. Yet, I really want our people to hear, let's say they just don't feel comfortable with ClarityNOW or any other company that's out there, and they want to do this themselves.
Yep.
What do you suggest they do?
Start with a spreadsheet. Just start with the spreadsheet. What I would do is I would put on your calendar every day to make sure that you're updating your numbers. And what I would start is just, you can have version 1, version 2, version 3 of whatever you build on a spreadsheet. So don't think that you need to build version 100 at the get-go. Start with just tracking your lead gen and your appointments. How many appointments did you set? How many did you sign? I would just start there. In fact, if you want a relatively detailed answer, there's one thing that I suggest. I personally love this, if I can go into it. It's called the daily items of value. And this is an awesome thing to put in your office. It's a whiteboard that you put in your office of a month, right? So you got the month that you can erase every single month and type in the new numbers for the date.
Yes.
And a legend on the left or right-hand side. And there's only 9 items that you can write down. There's listing appointment set, listing held, listing signed, listing sold, like offer accepted, buyer set, buyer consult held, buyer agreement signed, buyer sold, and number 9 is price corrections. Just those 9. And the way it works is every single day you take your whiteboard marker and you go up to the calendar and you put the corresponding number. So today I did a 1 and a 6, which means I set a listing appointment and I went on a buyer consult, right? And the goal, just get 1 item of value every day. Just 1 a day.
You know what's interesting is what you're describing is the way that we did it way back when.
Yeah.
It was just a paper calendar, and in those little squares of the calendar, we put those numbers. We knew exactly what it was, and we knew where we were at all times, and we knew how many we had to have of each one.
Yes.
Yet I think about the time that I spent doing that, and it was so well worth it.
Yeah.
Now I think, and the reason I was smiling as you were talking is I could see an agent going through all of this. And one of the things that we both know is leverage. Leverage, it helps us make money, like that one coaching client that you were talking about.
Yep.
You've got all of this to where all they have to do is just put it in the computer very quickly.
Sure.
And it does all of the calculations for them. It
Yep.
does everything for them, and they now have bought back time. And time does cost money. Well, you've got it so affordable, they're buying their time back. And that's time that they could spend with their family or with their business, whatever. So I love what you're doing, and I
thank
love that you care about the people. Now,
Thank you.
why do you think it's important that the agents actually know those numbers? I know it's about business. Yeah, let's get down to the heart of this.
Yeah.
Why do I need to know my numbers?
Well, numbers tell a story, right? And if you don't know what the numbers are, you don't know what the story says. So that's the first thing. I always start when people want to get started. I tell them that I don't care what the numbers are, because I really don't. I don't care what they are, but I have to know what they are. Just what are they? You could have a 12% listing appointment to listing signed ratio, and that's okay. Now we know we're at 12, right? We can work to get to 15 and work to get to 90 someday. So I don't care what they are. We just got to know what they are so we know what the story is. And it's about efficiency. Would you rather go on 100 listing appointments to get 12 listings signed, or 100 listing appointments to get 70 listings signed? Well, if you don't know what your conversion ratio is, you don't know where to practice. And if you can end up taking the same number of listings that you desire on less appointments and spend more time with your family, now we know that that's the area that we need to focus on. So it's really about knowing where in your business your hole and your gap is, so you know what to work on. But just start. Just start by typing in your numbers in ClarityNOW or a spreadsheet or a whiteboard. Whatever you choose is fine, but just start tracking.
I think that's important. C.S. Lewis says it doesn't matter about your past. What matters is where you're going. And he didn't care what the past was. It's let's start today. And knowing those gaps, though, it's kind of like here's the goal and here's where I'm at. And people get caught in that gap trap. And what I hear you telling us is you help fill the gap so they know what they have to study. They know what skill, because you either grow within or you go without, and you're helping them grow within by knowing where to grow and what area to go and get skilled in.
Bingo.
So how many people do you have using your product right now, just out of curiosity?
Oh gosh, I want to say we have over 5,000 people on the platform.
And you just started it, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And once again, let's just tell everybody where they could go if they want to know more or to follow you, your Instagram, Facebook, website.
Sure. Yeah. So our website's www.claritynowre.com. And by the way, we are going to offer a coupon code for everyone listening to this. So the coupon code will be Dianna, Dianna, and that will get you $30 off the product, which will make for an individual agent.
That's good.
Yep,
I love to save money
just
for
you,
people.
just for you. That for an individual agent, that makes our core product $79 down to $49 a month, and for a team account, $129 down to $99. So
Wait, just a minute. It's $49 a month is what they're going to get this for.
With your coupon code, $49 a month.
Well, the reason that I said that is if they have an accountant can give them a P&L. Yet
Correct.
the accountant can't tell them where they need to up their skill. An accountant can't tell them where the gaps are in their business.
Yep.
I bet not even brokers could tell them that, because the broker has enough to be doing anyway.
Yep.
We take that responsibility upon ourselves. Think of what that will do for us. So literally, I commend you on doing that, and thank you for giving people a discount and allowing it affordable so they can do it. So let's go back to where they find you, because after all, you're a coach, you're helping other people. How do they get in touch with you?
Yes. So they can either find me on Instagram. My personal one is jherman24@gmail.com. So jherman24@gmail.com. The other option, they can follow us on YouTube. I think is a great one for our YouTube channel. That's going to be www.youtube.com/ClarityNowRE, the @ symbol ClarityNowRE. And then our Instagram for ClarityNOW is just ClarityNowRE. So if you look up any of those, you can find us, find me, or find the company, and certainly go to our site and schedule for a demo.
Okay, so now is this becoming quite the community of people that are helping each other?
It is. Yeah, it is. It's actually cool. It's cool to watch. And, like any business, and Dianna, you certainly know this, and you're someone I call on from time to time to help too, because I support your I just really admire you, and I thank you for our relationship.
Thank you.
But as you grow, you can add more people to the business to do more with as well. So one thing that's been great to see is the customers that have been with us for a while, they've seen how much their product has grown in the last 2 years. They've seen how the Facebook community has grown. And we're really, really excited about what's coming out in 2025. We're about to launch leaderboards and competitions. We're doing more integrations with more CRMs. And at some point in 2025, probably the second half of the year, I'm really excited about this. We're going to develop an AI component within ClarityNOW, where ClarityNOW is actually telling you about your business. So instead of you having to go interpret the numbers and like, what does this mean and what should I do next? Very shortly, we'll be able to click a button and ClarityNOW will actually tell you about your reporting. So
Well, now
we're
that's why
excited about it.
they've got to get on this right now, so they'll be ready to go with that, and they
Yes.
can get on it for a less amount.
Yes.
So you've got AI now, you've got the leaderboard. I love the competition. Tell me
Oh, yeah.
about that, because I'm very competitive, and so are
This-
you. That's
Yes, this will be out by the end of January. So we're in the middle of the build right now, and you'll be able to create a competition on any category that you desire. So it could be on number of door knocks or listing sign. Doesn't matter. You pick the category. You can invite whoever you want within your team, or if it's an office account, the whole office. And ultimately, what we'd like to do is to be able to create a competition with, say, my wife's team here in Rochester with a team in Tampa Bay, and have both teams see a leaderboard competition, team to team. So we're going to be doing that as well. So I think that the product has gotten to this point to where the numbers are there, the reporting is there, and it's great. The product's great. Now the next step of our evolution is to make this more fun. And I think the competitions is a big part of that.
Well, gamifying anything makes it
Yes.
more fun, right?
Yes,
Let's face
absolutely.
it. Gaming is something that everybody loves to do, in the fact of that competition and that great competitive spirit. So I commend you on your entrepreneurship, and just the fact that you were able to see a problem within this great industry called real estate. You and I both love realtors.
Yep.
We may not sell anymore, yet we really, truly care about helping them. And I just want to honor you. I have so much respect for the fact that you would take this upon yourself, a person not in tech, yet wanting to help the agents so much. And now you've turned it into a business. Is there any last minute things that you would like to tell the listeners today?
The only thing I can think of is just how privileged we are to have you in their world. Dianna, you inspire me more than you probably realize. That you and Tony, the both of you, your charisma and your energy and your passion for doing what you're doing is extremely cool to watch. So
Well, no,
just
that's
thank you.
probably because we say things like, Jeremy, I see more in you than you see in yourself. Now get busy.
Well, you certainly know how to push, and I appreciate that too. No, thank you. Thank you for the
Yeah.
opportunity. Thank you for the platform, and grateful to be in your world.
It's fun. It's been great having you on Becoming More. And for all of you who would like to learn more about Becoming More from anyone on our podcast, be certain to hit that subscription button down below and subscribe to Becoming More, because in today's world, becoming more is not an option. It is absolutely a necessity. See you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.